Hey everybody, Shell Broadnax here, and I am so happy to be here. You do not see my face today, but you do hear my amazing voice as usual. But you do see the beautiful face of my friend Shauna Lynn Simon. Shauna Lynn, welcome.
Thank you so much, Shell, for having me. I'm super excited about this. Thanks for inviting me to join you.
Absolutely, I love doing these. While we get some of my tech issue going on, can somebody, anybody, or all of you, just type in the chat box that A, you hear a voice, and B, you see Shauna Lynn, and I'm going to keep uploading our PowerPoint here for you. So if anybody just type in that chat box while I do this.
And I'll keep an eye on things here. I see lots of people here. I see Sunny, I see Marcia, Ellen, Courtney. Okay, so yes, Catherine says I hear and see. Stacy can hear and see. Kim says yes, both. Fabulous. Orlando, hey honey, how are ya? Welcome from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Oh my goodness. So many people here. We've got Brighton, Michigan, Burlington, New York State, Calgary, Marcia from Canada. Cool. New Orleans.
You remind me of Miss Marianne on Romper Room. I always feel that way.
I was just going to say, I'm pretty sure most people in this room don't know what you're talking about.
Thanks a lot there, Shauna Lynn. You just called me old in front of everybody.
I did not. There we go.
There we go.
Awesome.
She just called me old, everybody. Your husband says something like, did you just call me fat? And they're like, what? I didn't.
No,
what?
Definitely didn't happen. Nope.
So at any rate, I want to thank everybody for joining us and just explain to you a little bit about poof. Mary, we're both gone. If you just for a heads up, if you lose sound, just refresh your browser. I'd close out anything else that you've got going on online if you can. That's the best thing to be able to do that, to keep everything up and running. The way that we're going to run this is we're going to show you a slide. It's going to have a picture on it that people have submitted questions beforehand. And we're going to cover those questions. So I'm going to give my input. Shauna Lynn's going to give her input. And I will be very direct and tell you sometimes we're going to come back. We might not answer it the way that you would expect us to answer it. And there's a reason for that, because we want to make you think about some things. I'm actually an Anthony Robbins trained coach. And, anybody knows Anthony Robbins, he says things that are pretty shocking sometimes, and it's to really jar you. It's to make you think. And so I kind of use the same approach. So it's never to make anybody feel bad. It's just when you say it and it's shocking, you're going to go, wow, I never thought of it that way. And you kind of flip your opinion about it. And it opens up a whole new way to think about something. As we're going along, if you have a question about something that we're engaged in, please type it in that chat box. If you have another question that comes to mind, you can type it in that chat box, but if we know it's on its way, we'll probably wait until we get to it. And then at the very end, we'll open it up for even more questions. Everything good with you, Shauna Lynn? Do you want to say anything before we get started? Are you ready?
I am in agreement with everything that you're saying. Hopefully anyone who's lost sound, I did type in the chat, since obviously if they can't hear us, they can't hear the instructions to refresh their screen. So I have typed that in the chat. Hopefully everyone can hear us. If anyone can hear us, maybe just before we get started, can you guys just confirm once again that you can hear us, that there are some people that are still able to hear us. Everybody else is hopefully refreshing their screens. That's my only thought. I just don't want to get started if no one can hear us.
Yeah. Orlando says, there you go.
Sweet.
Right
okay.
On. Okay. Let's rock and roll. Okay. First question, Shauna Lynn, should my staging business be an LLC?
This is going to be one of those questions, like you said, we might not always answer how you want it to be, because the answer is, I don't know. I don't know. Should your business be an LLC? Yeah, right? So you're on the same page as me. I can't make that determination for you. I would recommend speaking to your accountant. They're usually the best people to talk to about this type of stuff. This is what they deal in every day, all day. Get someone who is in your area, is recommended by someone. Always, I can't stress this part enough, always have a referral for your accountant. Don't just Google search it, because for all the fabulous accountants there are that are out there, the CPAs that are fabulous, there are unfortunately some that are a little less honest. So you do want to make sure your business is in good hands, regardless of what you choose. An LLC will provide an extra level of protection. It also provides an extra layer, or I shouldn't say provides, but demands an extra layer of paperwork and logistics and can be a little bit more involved in getting it all set up, and producing your financials each year and everything else. So in all honesty, it's in my opinion, and Shell, you might have some things to add to this, but in my opinion, it's a conversation to have with any business partners you have with your accountant, possibly even a lawyer as well.
Yes, absolutely. And when you're making a choice about your business, if you want to be a sole proprietor, an LLC, an S Corp, a C Corp, depending on where you're at, Canada, they might be structured a teensy bit different. Yeah. It's just dependent on what it is that you're going to do. So let's just use, the state of California and North Carolina, for example. I know these two states. If you're an LLC, you're going to pay $800 a year in taxes just to have that. But it limits your liability. That's what it actually stands for, limited liability company or limited liability partnership for an LLP. And it's just a business structure. So if you have a ton of assets and you'd like to keep them, you might want to consider being an LLC or a corporation, because what that does is restrict people's ability to come after you personally to recover a loss should a loss occur and it be your fault. So if you're sued. So that's really what the basis of those are. But like Shauna Lynn said, consult a CPA, consult a good one, and then make the best decision based off you. But don't be shocked because you're going to pay a significant tax at the end of the year just for the ability to do it. But like my father always told me, it's worth it. So you have to make that determination for yourself.
And I would also say, regardless of what you decide to do, you register your business, be a legitimate registered business in one way or another, even if it is just as a sole proprietorship. In Canada, what I can say is that you can register provincially as a corporation or federally as a corporation. Honestly, not a huge difference between the two. It's more about it protects your name if you do it federally. It protects your name federally, basically. But essentially, when it comes to incorporating in Canada, we don't really have the difference between a limited liability corporation. Like, we don't have all these different types of corporation for the most part. They do exist, but for the most part, no matter what you incorporate as, there is still some responsibility. If you are the only shareholder in your corporation, you are still financially responsible for the company. So at the end of the day, I'm in a registered corporation. I am protected from being sued. But if, for example, I have a credit card and I default on that credit card, and that credit card is through the business as a corporation, I'm still personally responsible for that debt. So it's not, so if you go bankrupt, you're not protected by being a corporation. As the sole shareholder, you are responsible for paying any debts.
And that's in Canada?
In Canada, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it does protect you to an extent in that it does operate as an entity, but it doesn't mean that you're completely immune to any sort of retribution if something were to happen. Like I said, I think it protects you more if you're sued than it does if there's a financial debt of some sort. And then the other side of it, like in terms of taxes, it definitely does change the whole tax structure as well. Your financials have to be more up to strictly done. So for example, I pay my CPA about $1,200 a year just to file my taxes. So that's not bookkeeping. That's literally just my taxes. So, and you are required as a corporation to have a CPA actually produce your financials for you. The other part of being a part of a corporation in Canada is when it comes to applying for funding. If you're a corporation that hasn't been around for more than a few years, you're going to be more limited. So you may end up having to take out personal loans. If you're trying to fund your business through a line of credit or a loan of some sort, you may have to put up personal collateral until your business has at least a few years of financials behind it.
There you go. Great explanation.
Cool.
All right. Next question was, how do I become a certified staging professional? And do you need to, and I combined these two. There was actually two different questions. And the second one was, do you need to be a specific designation? So for the sake of this question, I'm actually going to assume that the person that asked this question just meant, do I need to be certified? Because certified staging professional is a trademark designation. And that particular title, that designation belongs to the CSP organization. Certified Staging Professionals is a training provider. They are a training provider that RESA works with, and that's their specific designation. So in our industry, there are all kinds of designations. Shauna Lynn also has a training provider company. Shauna Lynn, what is your designation referred to?
It's the RESP designation, Real Estate Staging Professional.
So that's Shauna Lynn's. Then there's CSP, which is the Certified Staging Professionals. There are HSR, which means that you took your training through Home Staging Resource. There's Staging Studio. There's all types of different designations out there. Psychological Stager, the Academy of Home Staging and Redesign, the DSA. I know I have them all, the training providers that RESA works with. They're at the end of this presentation, and I'm trying to imagine the slides so I can get everybody's logo. But
I think you nailed them all.
It's at the end of my day, so the chances that I got them all, we'll see how well I did at the end of this.
Fair enough.
So, and to answer your question, you don't need to be a specific designation. And let's take that statement a little bit further. Staging is what we are now referred to as a self-regulating industry. We are not government regulated. We have all joined our forces together, and we're all about self-regulating, doing things that we know we should be doing as an industry because we want to, not because the government is forcing us to do something. So in reality, you do not have to have any designation in order to run a staging business. However, this is one of the things I want to make you think, why? Why on God's green earth would somebody attempt to do that? Here's why. Y'all don't know what you don't know. If you are new and you've gotten yourself into this industry, you may be fledgling a little bit. You could be doing pretty well, but you're not sure really where to go. You really don't know what you don't know at this point. So getting the training is really going to teach you about those things that you don't know. It's going to give you that step up in the right direction. It also lends credibility. Now let's talk about the credibility for a second. Does the average homeowner, have they heard of CSP, RESP, RESA? Likely not. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Does not matter at all if they haven't heard about it. It's when you bring yourself to the table and you list your credentials, it's the same thing as listing like MBA after your name or PhD. It's showing them that you have taken the care and the concern and the seriousness for your business to seek education, to make yourself better. And I will take it a step further just to let everybody know, if you haven't taken the education, most of the education, I would say, is probably 80-20 towards the business side. They're going to teach you more about the business end of running the staging than actually the color, the placement, and all of that. Because most people that want to get into this industry kind of had that inner knower that you're already good at the design aspect. You love color, you like the fabrics, and you know all of those things. And like I said, they do teach it. People do touch on it and teach it. But the primary focus of most of the staging training programs is the business aspect. Would you agree, Shauna Lynn?
Yes and no, to be honest. I agree with pretty much everything you said, but the part about the business aspect of it actually is something that, and this is not meant to be a plug for SLS Academy, but I know that I've spoken to other training providers as well that are starting to put a little bit more focus on some other aspects of staging, because I think one of the biggest differentiators is you might have a creative eye. That's fantastic. You can put a room together and make it look beautiful. That said, I have seen several staging projects that are completed by people that have not been formally trained, and it essentially looks like the local home decor store basically threw up on the room with no rhyme or reason as to how it's laid out.
For sure.
And I don't mean any disrespect by that, but home staging is marketing first and foremost. We are not decorating. We are not interior design. We are marketing. So the way that we position the furniture in staging may be slightly different than how I would position it for a design client, because it helps to better showcase the features of the home and sell the home. And at the end of the day, what people have hired you for is not to create a pretty home that looks nice in photos. They've hired you to help them sell their home and sell it for top dollar. So the marketing aspect is key. So I think that there is a great focus in these courses in terms of how to set up those rooms, how to do the placement, not just from a decorating standpoint. That is all covered. And yes, you're right, Shelly. I think, you know, people coming to this career, they've got a creative eye already. So we do kind of skim over the basics of decorating, accessorizing, and that sort of thing. But where we spend more time is on how to lay out a room, how to ensure that you're drawing the eye to the focal points, how you're laying out the furniture. And those areas should be tested a little bit more. And so going back to my original statement where I said this is not meant to be a plug for SLS Academy by any means, but hey, we do have a fabulous program. One thing that we do differently is actually we've separated out the business side of the training. So we cover the sort of the 101 aspects in the course. But the reason why we've separated out the business part of it is because we are finding more and more people are getting into this industry to go and work for other staging companies. They're not necessarily running their staging companies, so we haven't put the focus on that in the certification training, but it is a separate course.
And I will say, I will rephrase what I said because Shauna Lynn said it much more eloquently than I did. And I agree with everything she just said. So I'm not that I'm backpedaling. It's just that they're not going to teach you from ground zero about design. You're not going to go to a staging training company and act like you're walking in on the first day of your first semester of interior design school, because you've got to bring something to the table. So that's what I meant by that. They are going to touch on things, they're going to teach things, but it's not newbie. Here's the color wheel. And, you know,
and as far as the business part of what's covered, Orlando actually brings up a really good point. Orlando says, I agree. Most of us have the eye for design, but many lack the business aspects, from policies and procedures to marketing systems, websites, etc. Absolutely right. 100%. And one thing that you will learn from a training course, I guarantee, is how to run. And I guess I can't say I guarantee, because I don't know the ins and outs of all the programs. I know what my program offers, and I know a lot of these other training providers, and I know the quality that they offer. So I can't say I guarantee, but I know that a lot of what's covered is the process of how to run a staging project. So in terms of, when do you take money for things? Are you collecting a deposit? When is the full payment due? Should you have a contract? What should be in that contract? How do you price your services? I think one of the biggest things that I find new stagers challenged with is how to actually run how to run the actual project itself from start to finish. And I've actually just had it happen to me last week, where I was meeting with a real estate agent who's working with a new stager. And quite frankly, my opinion is that it's unlikely this stager has received any formal training, because she didn't know how to offer her services. She didn't know what her services would include. She wasn't offering what a standard staging service is. And that's fine. If you want to be innovative and step outside of what most stagers are offering, by all means, but learn what we're offering first, because there's a reason why we're doing it this way. But also, you should find a way to differentiate yourself. Just make sure that it aligns with what you were trying to achieve at the end of the day.
Yep, absolutely. Good advice.
Thanks.
What's the best way to gain staff or help in the beginning? Hire them.
This is easy, actually. Hire another stager, plain and simple. Go to your local RESA chapter, go to a meeting, go to a couple meetings, meet some people who are stagers in your area and hire them. Join the Facebook groups and find stagers in your area and hire them. And I know that probably the biggest thing that I hear from people is, I don't want to hire someone in my local area. They're going to steal all my ideas, yada, yada, yada. Forget about that. They don't care about your ideas. Sure, they might get some great tips that they're going to utilize in their business, and all the power to them. Why would you want to ever see them fail? Why not raise them up? But honestly, they're desperate for the opportunity to have some experience under their belt. Hire them. Whatever you do. And so if you're not hiring other stagers, you can do a listing for part-time help. What I would caution against, and I mean, and Shell knows this, if you're a RESA member, there is a whole webinar that's available to you for free in the professional development series that I did with Shell. I don't know, was it earlier this year? I have no concept of time, but all about hiring and firing. Yeah. I don't remember when it was, but
it's a good one.
I'm very passionate about hiring the right people. And the one thing that I will say is, don't just decide you're going to hire your friend's daughter or your best friend or your niece or whatever, because you may end up with the least qualified people to be helping you with what you need and the least motivated. So if they're super passionate and super supportive and really want you to succeed, they might work out great, but definitely use caution with that.
Absolutely. And let me add something to this too, is, staging's very right brain, left brain, and there are very few people in the industry that have both sides of the brain.
Very true.
Agree. So for me, I am very left brain, right brain. However, the creative side of my brain, when it comes to staging, I don't care. I don't care. I don't, and I'm going to shock everybody right now. I don't like staging. I don't like staging the house. I don't care about the sofa. They're too hard to lift. I don't want to do it. Don't ask me where to hang the artwork. God knows it's going to be crooked. It just is the way it is. It's not my passion. However, man, you get me into building that business, doing the sales and the marketing and the closing of the sales and the getting of the business and the running of the projects. That is up my alley all day long. So when you are looking at your situation, think of what side of the brain do you have and what do you enjoy doing and what do you not enjoy doing, and try to hire out for people that are going to complement you and have the other side of that equation, because those are going to make the best partnerships. Now, I started a staging business, 2006, I started a staging business, early 2007. I ran it for 4 months. I had so much business. My first phone call to somebody, I landed the job. My very first one. It wasn't a shock to me because I can close a sale. then he wanted me to come and actually do the work. And I was horrified. And it was like, what am I going to do? And I made every mistake that I could have made. And I know how to stage and I know how to do it. But I bought a kidney bean sofa, for crying out loud. It's like, I always tell my kidney bean sofa story, because don't ever do that. You've got to pick things when you're starting to buy, and we'll talk about that later on too. But you have to pick things that are universal and kind of mix and match, and will go everywhere. But had I found somebody, back in 2006, that had the other side of the brain, that was the creative, that wanted to go out and do the staging, I'd probably still be staging today, because I'd have somebody that loved doing it. And then I would have my part in what I love doing. So.
And you bring up a really good point. Don't be afraid to hire someone who knows more than you do. It's not about necessarily knowing more, but knowing things that you don't know. Yeah, I think a lot of times people want to hire people that know less than them because it boosts their confidence. They feel more secure in that. I am telling you, you will benefit so much more if you hire someone who knows stuff that you don't know. Yeah. I'm always looking to hire people that know more than I do.
100%. Us too, here at RESA HQ, hire, and we surround ourselves with people that are smarter than I am, because I don't know what I don't know. I mean, I know a lot, but if someone else can clue me in every once in a while, I'm all about it.
And Phoebe just has a comment that I just finished my training. I'm looking for a veteran stager to work for and get some experience. So honestly, Phoebe, get out to your local RESA chapter. Hopefully you have one. If you don't, connect with RESA HQ, and I'm sure that they can connect you with some local stagers. But if you go onto the Find a Stager link on the RESA website, you'll find tons of stagers in your area, and I'm sure that you can connect with them.
Yeah,
Felicia's all over that too. Yeah,
she's already on that. Yeah. So here's another one. Do you have any tips for making a great first impression while meeting with a group of real estate agents? I'm giving my first ever staging presentation to a group of 40 to 50 real estate agents on October 8th. I'm preparing before and after photos as well as my statistics for the presentation. Any tips or advice is greatly appreciated. Oh my God, I love this question.
Do you want to start?
I do. Okay, I absolutely do. I love presentations. I love speaking in front of people. And what I want you to do, and if you're on this call and you ask this question and you want to have a chat back and forth, feel free if you're brave enough to tell us who you are. But I'll just address this to everybody. Anybody that's doing this, when you're talking to your spouse or your family member about staging or something that's going on and you're so excited about it and you're passionate and you see their eyes roll in the back of their head because they're tired of hearing you, that's how I want you to present it to the real estate agent. When you get that vibe, because you're talking with some passion, I know there's times when I'm talking to my husband about something and all of a sudden I start to see his eyes start to twitch and I'm like, okay, there they go. I'm getting the eye roll. I know I need to kind of tone myself down, but the passion is what's going to sell you and going to make you sound more like a legitimate professional. You're not going to be stumbling. When you're speaking with passion with something, you're not even planning your next word. You're not having to remember anything. So therefore your speech patterns are going to go along much more fluently. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I recommend that you do is practice, really practice, and your presentation needs to be stellar. You want to have great, amazing photos, and they need to be professional photography, and here is why. If you're going into a presentation and you're using your iPhone photos, you just broke the #1 rule of your business because you are a visual presenter being a real estate stager. Everything is about first impressions, and you're selling first impressions to the real estate agents and the homeowners of why they need to stage, why they need to use professional photography. So you need to walk that walk and talk the talk to be able to do that. The other thing that I'd recommend that you do, 40 to 50 real estate agents, I'd kill for that tomorrow.
Right.
Just again, speak with the passion, have your answers very clean and concise, and don't sell yourself. Don't make the presentation about you whatsoever. You will be sold by default just by giving the information. So give it freely, like you're going to walk out and you're going to never see these people again, and it will come back to you tenfold. But if you get up there and you sell yourself and you say, we offer these amounts of consults and our consults are this, and this is why you should hire us, their eyes are going to roll back in their head for a different reason, and it's not the one that you want. So don't do that, and you will be okay. And I'll kick it over to Shauna Lynn.
So everything that Shell just said, hopefully you're taking notes on this because all of that was absolutely amazing. And for anyone who doesn't know, Shell did a fabulous job putting together a class, which I'm actually teaching on the same date on October 8th, the Stage and to Sell class for agents. So she really does know how to connect with them. I think giving them a little bit of insider tips is always fun. Anything that kind of gives them a little bit of, you're not necessarily give them staging tips that like, oh, they're going to be able to go out and stage a house. But I always give, say, my top 3 staging tips, for example. Provide anecdotes, tell stories as much as you can. If you're fairly new in staging, it is more challenging, of course. But if you've been doing this for even a year, anytime that you can, use an example of, oh, when I was with, I had a client, a few weeks ago, or I had this client one time that said this, and here was my response. And when you're saying that, it's really showing that you actually know what you're doing and that you are definitely an expert. Anecdotal stories always worth. They always say, stories sell. Stories 100% sell. In terms of talking about yourself, I agree with Shell that you don't want to be selling yourself. If you've got great, beautiful photos, you're giving them great insights into the industry, the statistics, that kind of stuff, great photos, all of that will help to sell things. That said, what you can do is, I love the slide of here's what to look for in a professional stager.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, and what you can do is, and if you have not, this is where my juices get going here, Shell. So I am very big on know what the heck you're worth, know who you are, what you're worth, and the value that you bring to the table. And if you can't easily identify what makes you the super awesome person and super awesome stager that you are, you need to take a moment and sit down and figure it out. I'm all about discovering your awesomeness. I get that we are raised to be humble, and especially in Canada, my goodness, we're afraid to tell anybody about anything that we do that's super awesome. Get over it. You have to do it. So sit down and figure out exactly what makes you unique and what makes you awesome. And some of that may overlap with other stagers, but the point is that if you can identify what that is to yourself, it'll be easier when you're speaking to other people. So now put a slide into that presentation that says, here are some things to ask about with your home stager. Are they certified? Are they registered as a business? Are they a member of RESA? Do they have insurance? All of those are valuable. Do they have a contract? Exactly. Do they own their own inventory? And don't get me wrong, if you don't own your own inventory, it doesn't make you a less stager than someone who owns their own inventory. But whatever fence you live, or whatever side of the fence you live on, sell that as being the better one. You know what I mean? Like, say, like, oh, here's why I think it's important to not own your own inventory, because I have lower overhead. I'm able to meet your budgets better. I have more selection. They kept up to date, whatever. I own my inventory. So my response would be, well, I have more flexibility. I ensure that I curate the designs that are specific to my brand. Like, so whatever side of the fence you live on, sell that. But these are all things that you should be including as a part of your value, and then tell them to ask other stagers about it.
Absolutely. And if you go to the RESA website, on the publications section, there's the Consumer Guide to Real Estate Staging. And in there's the top things to look for in a professional stager. You can also pull information from that. But make sure whatever you put in that presentation, that you actually meet that criteria.
Yes.
So I see a lot of people that are they're starting out as a hobby. And I don't want to say that hobbyist is a bad word. I think there's plenty of room for people that are operating as a hobby in an industry. And I think those people should go work to the people that are running it as a business. Wholeheartedly, we still want you in the industry, but we want to raise you up. So if you're not going to go in a business full time, work for somebody else. But I think it's, I'm just losing my train of thought as I'm reading again. I'm reading the chats back and forth going, okay, I'm multitasking a little bit too much. But at any rate, you want to make sure that you fit the mold of that professional stager, especially if you're just starting out. If you don't have a contract, and you're telling people in your presentation, make sure they have a contract, you'd better get one really quickly before they call you.
And that's also another good point too. Like, when it comes to your presentation, teach the agent something they may not know. So especially if they've never worked with a home stager, you might say to them, did you know that it is standard industry policy for stagers to be paid prior to staging? Tell them something they don't know, because those are always interesting facts for them. Did you know that it is standard to have a contract, and the contract will state certain things like this? I was just going to say the SRM policy actually is another one. Did you know your insurance policy may not cover, so anytime you can give them something. What real estate agents love is to be in the know about something, to have like an insider scoop of something that they can take back to their clients and look super smart about. And that's going to help them secure the listing when they're saying, listen, I work with this professional stager. Did you know that staging is not a regulated industry, but the stager that I work with has had extensive training to ensure that they're providing you with the best advice, right? So that's something that, work it in there, but give them that insider tips. Most agents have no idea we're not a regulated industry and have no idea what certification may or may not mean. So give them some of that advice.
There you go. And I just noticed that I put the wrong question with the wrong logo on here. So we'll talk about both of these slides. The original question was, is there a way to roll staging expenses into the closing cost that mitigates risk for all parties? And what I should have put on here was the logo for Zoom Casa.
Yes.
It is on the homepage of RESA for details, along with the SRM policy, and I'll talk about that as well. No, Orlando, over my dead body will we have this industry regulated. Thanks for asking that question. That's the day the board of directors can fire me and I will ride off in the sunset on my horse Brick. But back to this. Yes, you can. You can absolutely get paid out of escrow. However, I don't recommend that you take that risk on your own. Glad I can make you laugh, Orlando. Zoom Casa is a concierge service. And so I'm going to just briefly explain how this works. They are a company that if you have a client and your client says, oh, wow, I love your staging bid, but it's $5,000. I don't have it right now. Will you take it out of escrow? You say, absolutely. Let me connect you to my partner, Zoom Casa. And you call Ted on the phone and you connect your client with Ted. And then you give Ted your bid and Ted comes back with a price that says, great, we can absolutely take this out of escrow. Here's the additional fee that it's going to cost you, because we can't call it it's not a loan. It's not a finance charge, because there's regulations with that, but there is a cost of being able to defer that payment. Zoom Casa is going to pay you, the stager, directly before you go do the stage. You're going to stage it like you normally do. And then Zoom Casa is going to get paid out of escrow. They get reimbursed for paying you up front. The other side of how Zoom Casa works is they have real estate agents and homeowners calling them. And they say, I'm selling my home. I need a floor replaced and I need staging. Who can you refer me to? And Zoom Casa says, fantastic. I work with Orlando. He's in Florida. He's a great stager. And he's going to come out and give you a bid. Orlando is going to go bid that job. They're going to go view the property, put his bid together, and Orlando is going to send it to Zoom Casa. And they send it to Zoom Casa because that person they're giving the bid for is not Orlando's client yet. They're Zoom Casa's client. So you give your bid to Zoom Casa. Zoom Casa then turns it over to the client along with the floor bid, and they say, this is how much it would cost you if you paid cash and you paid Orlando directly and the floor person directly. And this is how much we charge to take it out of escrow. And then if the client wants to move forward, Orlando will do the job just as he normally would. Zoom Casa is going to pay Orlando up front and Zoom Casa gets paid out of escrow. And it's a done deal. And Zoom Casa, sometimes they're going to call you and say, we've got the lead for you. And you're going to write up the bid. And the homeowner might say, you know what? I love the bid, but I don't want to pay out of escrow now. Can I just pay Orlando directly? And Orlando gets the job. The homeowner pays Orlando directly, and Orlando does not have to pay a referral fee back to Zoom Casa. So it's a great relationship to be able to do that. Stacy, the Zoom Casa fees are probably going to be between 20 and 23%. It's dependent on the area and the risk that's involved. So they will give an individual quote. So you don't want to quote that to your clients, but work with them directly to get the exact details. I want to talk just a little bit of the staging risk management policy, the logo that's on this page. Insurance. I want everybody to understand that you need to have insurance for your company, general liability insurance always. Your general liability policy will most likely also cover your inventory while it's in a listing, whether it be occupied or vacant. However, I want you to imagine this. You have put $18,000 worth of furniture into a vacant home. It is 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. U-Haul truck pulls up, burglars and robbers get out, they unload everything out of the house, stick it into the U-Haul truck. They are gone by 3:45 a.m. You wake up the next day, all your stuff is gone. Do you want that insurance claim of $18,000 to hit your insurance policy? Why, of course not, Shell. Why would we do that? That would be just loony bins. You're right, it would be, because one significant loss, they can choose not to renew you, or they raise your rates to where you cannot afford them. So in my opinion, the loss when the inventory is out of your care and custody and control should never fall on you. It should fall on the homeowner. So most stagers' contracts state that the homeowner is responsible for any loss while the inventory is in their home. A homeowner will come back and they'll say one of two things. I don't want to be responsible for it. Or, not to worry, I have homeowners insurance. They will cover me. And then you will say as a stager, fantastic, you have homeowners insurance. Just get me added on as an additional insured for this amount with my company and send me a rider. Then you're fine. Everything's fantastic. But chances are they're going to call their insurance company to get that done, and their insurance company is going to drop a bomb on them, and they're going to tell them, we're not going to cover that. A, it's not your things that are in the property. They belong to somebody else, so we can't insure someone else. And B, if the home's going to be vacant for more than 60 to 90 days, you're not going to have contents coverage anyway. And then they don't cover it. So if there's a fire, there's a flood, there's vandalism, anything along those particular lines, you won't be able to get compensated. So you definitely want to make sure that you are covered. And the staging risk management policy, you can buy one project at a time. So you can position this in different ways. You can either say, I offer this extra policy, and you just pad the number in. If you buy the $180 policy, you just add $180 into your staging fee, and you just say it's included. You don't line item it. Or you give them an option to say, I accept this policy, or I don't accept the policy, and it's in the contract, and they add it on, and it is line item. So they can mark, yes, I recognize 20 grand of furniture is going in. The insurance policy is $250. Happy to pay for it if something happens. It's not out of their pocket. It doesn't hit their policy. It doesn't hit yours. And that's how you can protect yourself with that. It's a great service. I can tell you that I worked for over 10 years in trying to get a policy like this written. Every year I would make my rounds with the insurance carriers and explain what I wanted to do. And they all looked at me like I was cuckoo. Finally, Bob Johnson contacted me last year, and because this happened to a friend of his, and he works in title and insurance. And the two of us worked together and worked with Worth Avenue underwriters to get this program going. So we definitely want people to use it. I would highly recommend that everybody use it and check it out.
I just want to say I agree with all of that. We've recently introduced it as a part of our contracts, and clients and agents alike are quite impressed by the fact that we offer it, because it actually, that's part of our value, is that sets us apart, that we care so much about them to offer this optional policy. We explain to them we're not making any money off of this. We do have it as a separate line item. They have to opt into it. It's not automatically included. But when we tell them the reasoning why, they're quite impressed. What we actually did was, and this goes back to me and my company's brand. You don't have to do this, but because I have kind of a certain image and I want to present information a certain way, I wanted to create a flyer, sort of an informative flyer that I could provide to my clients in the client care package that we give to them. So I spoke with Bob Johnson about getting this done. He provided the logo to me, so I could create the flyer, and I had to get approved by him, of course. Keep in mind that I have to make sure that it doesn't say anything that contradicts what the actual policy is. So SRM and Worth Avenue had to approve the flyer, which they did. And so it has my branding on it, reflects everything about me, and I can just give it to my clients. So if you're willing to put a little bit of work into putting that flyer together, I think it's totally worth it.
Yeah, I love this policy. And I just, have listed my home in California, and it was listed for a few days. We were in escrow, had an offer and everything, and there was an explosion in the bathroom, and the house flooded and caused $35,000 worth of damage. Thank goodness it did not affect any of my stagers' inventory. But I'm so glad that I did, because I'm thinking about it right now, because now we've been through 3 escrows. The damages are still not fixed, and I'm paying multiple mortgages. And if that had ruined her inventory, I'd be upside down $18,000.
Yeah. And as Mary says that her house was wiped out in 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
One of the easiest things to do is steal from a staged house, because it essentially just looks like someone's moving.
Yeah.
No one questions it. You pull up a moving truck, you unload it. They'll do it in broad daylight. They'll wave to the neighbors as they do it, and they'll take off.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Creative little people, aren't they? So next question, what is a competitive rate to charge? We can't answer that for you.
Yeah, give me this.
Here's the thing about pricing. We can tell you different methods to calculate a price. Mm-hmm. We can say, calculate it by the square feet, go 1% of the list price, 20% of retail on your rentals. We can give you all those little gadgety things. Here's the bottom line. You need to charge what you need to charge in order to make a profit. So it's cost, whatever it costs you to do the job, plus what you need to make a profit. It's that simple. Personally, if I was running a staging business, I know a lot of stagers rent their inventory, and they say, I've got 4 lamps and those are $10 each, and the pillows are $4. I would never do that in a million years. I don't have the bandwidth in my brain to do it because I'm a little ADD, but I personally would just say, here's my fee. It includes everything. How do you do it, Shauna Lynn?
I literally go line by line, but you know me. We have a spreadsheet that we use. It's really simple for my stagers to create a custom quote. And that's part of our selling point. And again, position, however you want to do it, sell that as a part of your selling point. So for us, we say we create a custom quote for every single client. So they like that. They know that like we're literally going to get it down to the dime that they owe. But what I want to go back to is the word competitive. Because I think that this is it can be a bit of a double-edged sword. Like Shell said, it's your cost plus whatever you need to make, whatever you want to make / need to make equals the price that you charge. As far as where you're going to be positioned within your market in terms of where you are in terms of competitiveness, competitive doesn't mean cheapest. So let me just clarify that. So that cost plus whatever you need to make, that whatever you need to make should be based on what you are providing in terms of value and how you value that. And this is a strong thing that if you attended RESACon, you heard me speak about this. I get very passionate about it. You have to charge what you are worth. And it can't just be a matter of, oh, but this person's charging this and this person's charging this. Make what you feel you deserve to make. And when it comes to your clients challenging it, because I hear people all the time, well, I can't get away with that in my market, or this person's going to be cheaper, that person's going to be cheaper. Let me tell you right now, I am not the cheapest stager in my area by a long shot. And I have plenty of questions that come up saying, wow, we got a quote from this stager and it was so much less. It was like $2,000 less than yours. Why is it more? And I always say we can't comment as to how someone else values what they provide. What we can tell you is here is what we provide. And we identify all the things that they are paying for. What they're paying for includes continuing education. The fact that we attend multiple events every year in order to ensure that we are on top of everything that's going on. I'm attending High Point Market in a few weeks. That's a selling point. I'm making sure that I'm up to date with the latest and greatest trends, finding new suppliers to work with to provide the latest designs for your staging project. All of these things add value and is worthwhile. So whatever it is that you feel that you are worth, that's what you need to charge. But I cannot stress this enough. Make sure you can back it all up. You want to charge that high price, back it all up. But if you're charging a cheap price, you're doing no one any justice. At the end of the day, you're going to be working way harder than you want to for way less money than you want to. You're going to feel undervalued and you're going to resent your clients. And it's not their fault that you decided to charge way less than what you should have because you thought that was your best way to get your foot in the door.
Yep. And you know what else I would say, Shauna Lynn? You know, we always hear people say, oh, I'd never charge that in my area. Nobody would ever pay that. Guess what? How many stagers do you and I know that would go, watch me? Yeah. And they'll walk into your same neighborhood, your same client, they will pitch their services and they will close the deal because they think they can. And if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Either way, you're right. Mary, what city and state are you located? Because Mary's wanting to know in terms of fees, and we can't give you the fees. We have no idea where you're at. We don't know what you're offering. Is it vacant? Is it luxury? Is it average? Is it occupied? Is it consult?
But she does say, don't let clients force you into a race to the bottom. You'll live to regret. And she's right about that. And I think this also actually, Melpo earlier entered a question that said, I need to build my portfolio, but I'm new to the business and don't have any business coming in. Should I just reach out to friends to stage their homes or offer a freebie to get things started? And I think that relates in here as well. If it's okay with you, Shell, I'd like to address that at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
So I am never an advocate of giving away anything for free because at the end of the day, that's what they will value that service to be. It's the same thing that even if for any reason we were to provide a discount or something, actually, sorry, we don't really provide discounts. I know what I'm thinking of. Gift certificates. We give away gift certificates sometimes for prizes and say like, oh, here's $50 towards our services or whatever as sort of like a local prize. I actually hate doing that and I've kind of gotten away from it, but we used to do that a lot. And I would always tell my admin, you have to enter that in as a payment, not as a discount. Otherwise, that total on the invoice looks like that's what I'm worth, and that's not the value of what they received. So when it comes to that, all that said, I know what it's like trying to get into the business. I do recommend working on your own home as much as you can to build up your portfolio. If you have some friends that maybe will let you do sort of a before and after of their home where they're not selling it, you can kind of just have some fun with them, by all means. But if they're actually selling their house, get them to pay you. Even if you don't have them pay you full price, make sure they've got skin in the game and make sure that they fully understand exactly the value of everything you've provided with them. You provide them with an invoice that says, this is $1,200 worth of stuff that I've given you and you're paying X number of dollars. And if you are putting any rentals in their house, they pay for the rentals, plain and simple. Do not give away anything for free. That is your money maker. You want to give your time for free. Again, I don't agree with it, but I understand when you're trying to get into the market and trying to build your portfolio, sometimes that's the best thing that you can find to do. What you can also do is you can work with other stagers and get to help them with on actual staging projects. And you may be able to ask them like, hey, I kind of worked on this bedroom by myself. Would you be okay with me putting this in my portfolio? They may say no. not saying they're going to say yes, but you may have that opportunity as well.
Yeah. And I apologize, Mary. I see that your question were 2 questions right in a row, and I was only looking at the one, or comments, should I say. And we agree. Don't let them force you into the race to the bottom. They do regret it. Yeah. What percentage of value do most stagers charge clients for items? Example, a paintings is $50. What percentage of that value is a good value to charge clients for the first initial setup, takedown, and first month's rent?
This is a more of a complicated question, because it kind of goes to the previous question. There's no way to actually say, as a standard industry, like as it's sort of an industry standard, we generally say that you rent items out for 10 to 20% of retail. I will say in my own personal staging company, the way that we've done it is all accent pillows are the same price. All extra large artwork we rent for the same price. All large artwork we rent for the same price. So I could have bought a piece of artwork for, say, $70, but realistically the retail value of that's probably closer to $300. But regardless, whatever size it lands in, that's the rental price that I'm renting out for. It doesn't matter what I actually paid for it. So as far as the initial setup, takedown, and first month's rent, again, it goes back to what do you want to be charging for. I do recommend charging a separate rate, whether you don't have to break them out on the invoice, but when you're calculating it, figure out, here's how much time I'm going to be spending, here's my hourly rate, therefore this is my fee for my services, this is my fee for the rentals. You can give it to them as one price, but the idea is that you're not necessarily charging all of those in each piece. I think it's easier to kind of figure out how much time you're going to spend, how much your rentals are, and put those two together.
Yep, good answer, and I'm going to leave that one as it is.
All righty then.
Please give advice how to start in staging while still working a full-time job.
Oh, I did that.
How'd that work out for you?
Oh, amazing. Be prepared to work, though. In all honesty, you have to spend every time that you have to spend on building your business. You have to treat it as that, and you have to be prepared for the fact that you're not going to. You have to dedicate the time. That's really what it comes down to. Here's what I would say. It's going to vary depending on the type of career that you're currently in and how much flexibility it has. I was fortunate to be in a career that had some flexibility that allowed me to essentially work full-time hours on weekends. So Friday through Monday, I worked full-time, and then I was able to run my business throughout the week. So my clients really didn't notice that I wasn't available at certain times because I was able to work around it. If your full-time job doesn't allow you that kind of flexibility, then you don't necessarily have to tell clients all the time that, oh, I'm working a full-time job, therefore I can't see you until 5 o'clock this evening. Instead, I am booked up for the day, but I do have an evening slot available for you. If it's possible to work with your employer to reduce your hours, maybe you work extra hours Monday through Thursday so you can take appointments during the day on Friday. I do recommend, if your full-time job is for another employer, as in you're not in business for yourself for that full-time job, be as honest as you can with that employer. I never like to see an employee leave, but I also don't want to keep an employee in a job that they're not happy in. So if I can do something to support them for getting to where they want to be, I will do it. And if that means that they want to cut down their hours with me or find a way that they're working more flexible hours, I will accommodate that for them. And I think most employers would, especially right now where there is an employment shortage, where it's really difficult to find workers. They're going to be happy to keep you and likely reward you for your loyalty. So
excellent. You know, the other thing I'd add to that too is you're just getting started and you're working full time. Start out doing consults. Mm-hmm. There's no overhead. You don't need a warehouse. It's just your fuel to get where you're going. It helps you get your feet wet. You can get a lot of confidence with that as well.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, and so Elena says that's when you use other stages to work for you. I did it having a full-time job as well. So that's also a really good point. Yeah. So if you need someone to be accommodated during daytime hours, if you're running a solid business, you can easily just hire someone else to do that consultation for you. Yeah. I do recommend, kind of going back to that though, whatever you do, if you don't have a business plan, get one. I really think it's an important exercise for all of us to do, to really identify exactly the kind of business that you want to build, because just trying to wing it and figure out things as you go is not a way to build a sustainable business. You need a business plan that you can actually identify, what is my brand, what is my culture, what is it that my clients are going to get, and how do I want to be viewed?
Yep. And what are your goals? And then look at those goals every single month, every single week. I mean, we come in on Monday mornings here at HQ, and we have a staff meeting every Monday. So we go over what are our goals for the week, What are we all working on, what do I need from Felicia, what does Vanessa need from Shell, what does Gina need from Shell, and we all get together to be able to plan our week, but you have to revisit what it is that you're doing, and then always keep your eye on your end goal and constantly work that goal in order to make it happen.
Absolutely. And just to go back to Layla's question there, do you pay for a client's rentals and then bill them, or should they pay directly to the rental company? Again, that also goes back to your business plan and how you want that sorted out. Keeping in mind that if you are billing it to your clients and you're paying directly to the rental company, your agreement with the rental company means that you are liable for the items. Therefore, you better make sure that you have a solid contract between you and the client to ensure that you're compensated for that. I personally recommend actually doing exactly that, though, working directly with the rental company. Some rental companies, in fact, will only work directly with stagers and not directly with homeowners. But it protects it protects a lot of information about what things are actually costing you. It protects you from having the clients go over you directly to that client and take you out of it. But you can also make it a little extra money on it for the time that you've taken to put all that together. So but there's more of a liability to that.
There's liability, especially if you're doing an occupied and you're bringing in some rental on the occupied. If they've got kids, dogs, and they damage that furniture, you're liable for it. And then it's one of those things, kind of like in a divorce. The divorce judge can say, he pays this bill, you pay that bill. But if the bill that he's supposed to pay is in your name with the creditor, you're still liable no matter what your divorce agreement states. Right. So same thing with this. So you want to just caution yourself on that. But also the SRM policy, just so everybody knows, yes, you can actually get the SRM policy, and that will cover the rental furniture in like a court furniture rental. They can be listed as the additional assured in that, because their damage waiver is only for small little damage, nicks, and threads coming loose, and little bitty stains, things like that. It's not for catastrophic loss like a fire or a flood or vandalism. Mm-hmm. Can you describe how stagers can make a referral fee for referring to painters, cleaners, etc.? I could, but why would you want to?
I cannot.
We could describe it, but both of us, I think you got our opinion. I would not be accepting referral fees to refer to people out for these types of jobs. Here's why. Number one, you don't want to be in the middle of it. Number two, when you give from your heart, again, you're just giving to have great business relationships. That's going to come back to you tenfold. And those painters and those cleaners, you're going to want to disclose it to your client, number one. And number two, sometimes they're not always available. So you might want to use a couple people. So you can give them a couple people to choose from. But even if you're just doing, hey, I got this one great painter, I personally wouldn't be accepting the referral fee. Because do you want to have to pay a referral fee to that painter when they come back? It runs both ways. So that's just my opinion. I wouldn't do it.
We actually, when we refer our clients to painters, cleaners, etc., we actually make a point of stating that we do not receive a kickback. We only recommend people that we have truly vetted, that we trust, that are fully insured and bonded. We make a point of making sure that we've really vetted every single person that we're sending, and that's the only reason why we recommend someone. The other stipulation to that as well is, depending on where you're located, if you receive a referral fee, you may be liable for issues that arise from those services provided. So you want to be very careful with that. It all depends on where you're located. And again, that's something your lawyer should be telling you.
Yep, keep it clean. What's your typical target profit margin on staging jobs?
Doesn't exist. No such thing as typical.
Yeah, not typical, but the goal, I would say 25, 30%.
Yeah. Now, keep it in mind, yes, but in terms of profitability, how are you calculating that? You want to make sure that it's not just on a per project basis, because if you only have, say, 20 to 25% profit on that particular project, you're not accounting for your storage fees, your training fees, your continuing education, your equipment, your vehicle, your gas, all of that stuff. So you want to make sure that when you're talking profit, that you're taking that, if you're doing it on a per project basis, you want to know what your overhead is. So that is a percentage that is calculated in as a part of your expenses on every single job. If you don't know how to figure that out, talk to your accountant.
There you go. There you go. Here's a good question. If I hired an insured painter, electrician, or any contractor for a project over or under $2,500, must I have a contractor or subcontractor's license? I'm in the state of Georgia and read something to that effect, but wonder if I'm considered a contractor or a liability at risk when I hire others to complete the jobs on my project. I would say if you're doing this, you are opening yourself to a ginormous can of worms. I would steer clear of this.
Have the homeowner hire them.
You should not be putting your own money. You're hiring somebody else on somebody else's home and their project and their number one asset. I wouldn't do it. Number one, they should be hiring it. Number two, if you really wanted to get into this, you need to seek your own legal counsel.
100%. Yeah.
Yep.
Everything that Shell just said, you don't want to take on that. I will help to, I don't say that I do project management, but I will communicate with painters, electricians and such. I will recommend them, but at the end of the day, the homeowner has to hire them. The way that it works where I'm located, and again, this is going to vary based on where you are. And so I know you're in Georgia. I would seek legal counsel on specifically on there. But the way that it works here is that if I am actually hiring these people and I'm telling them when to show up, I'm responsible for them. If there is not a general contractor on the job, the homeowner is technically that general contractor. But if I'm hiring them on their behalf, I become the general contractor all of a sudden, which means I have all the liability. So I make sure that every homeowner is aware when they are hiring these guys as well. If they don't want to work through a GC, they have to understand that they are the GC. And if there's any issues with anything, it falls on them. Someone falls down the stairs in their house while they're working on their job, that is on the homeowner.
Yep. Nailed it. As a newbie, I'm with limited funds. How can you secure a free or low price printable contract online? This is one of those times in the very beginning where I said, I'm going to answer something probably the way that somebody's not going to like it.
Yeah.
This is that question. Listen, I'm going to be super, super, super straight and very blunt. Please do not take my directness for uber rudeness. It is not. This is a foundation of your business that sets you up for success or failure and protects you. Why would you ever even consider doing anything for free or low price or try to source it online? That is the number one way that you're going to be shown people that you are a hobbyist. You don't take your business seriously. You're not investing in your own business. If you can't afford to get an attorney to write your contract, you cannot afford to be in business. That's what I'm just going to say. This is the cornerstone and foundation of what you're doing. Do not get it from your girlfriend in another city. If you do, you need to still have your own attorney look at it. I see so many people sharing contracts and they get themselves into trouble because guess what, people? They really didn't read them through and through and really understand what it is that they're offering. Myself, I just relocated to a new area. I have opened up a boarding stables facility for horses. The first thing I did was went out and found a North Carolina equine specific attorney and had her draw up all of my agreements. You know, it was $1,500.
But now you're protected.
But now I'm protected. And you know what she'll do now? If something happens with that contract, guess who I call? Hey, Dottie, help me out, sister, because you wrote me a contract and we got problems. So she will be able to help me defend the contract. The other thing that you want to do is once you do get a contract, don't change the scope of the contract without your attorney's feedback on that. It's worth it to pay them a couple $100 to be able to alter it, whatever your need is, because then they can still defend the contract. If you make material changes to your contract after they've given it to you, they can no longer defend it. It's not a piece of their work. You've altered it.
So here's what I can also say about that. Most stager training programs do include the staging contracts. I personally will not sell a contract blanket. I have always said I will only provide a sample contract in the context of a learning module. So whether it's a webinar or one of my courses, because I don't want it to just be a blanket like, here you go. I want to explain why each clause is in there. And I want to have the caveat of explaining throughout too that you need to seek counsel for it. I will say that when I was first starting in staging, and I think it's a little bit better now, but when I first started, I couldn't find a lawyer who knew a thing about home staging. So they were not equipped to write me a contract. So I understand from a starting point that you might want some help within the industry. Again, your training provider should have a sample that they can provide to you, but it's still got to be specified to your locale because there's going to be different rules and there's going to be things in my contract that might be completely illegal to have in a contract where you live. If you cannot afford an attorney, like Shell said, you probably shouldn't be in business, but there are also options of legal counsel where they're not going to write the contract. You essentially write it. They will review it and give you points on it. And it's a lower fee for that. It's still going to cost you some money though. Like it might not be $1,500, but you're still talking a couple $100 at least to do it. But if you are a newbie starting out with limited funds, and you haven't received it from your training provider, I can say that RESA, again, has a webinar that I did with them about it's called Staging Your Way, taking control of your staging projects, I think it's, or staging contracts or something like that. Again, check out the professional development series, but if you're a RESA member, it is free. But in that, I teach you everything you need to know about contracts from a stager's perspective, not from a lawyer's perspective, and I do provide a sample of one of my contracts in there as well.
Awesome. And just to give everybody a heads up, I have been working with some fabulous attorneys. And so we are going to be launching a concierge legal service for stagers where they will be able to do contracts. We are negotiating with them to get you a lower cost. So instead of having to pay $1,500 or $2,500 for a contract, we're trying to get it to under $1,000. I'm really going to have to just take these men and bend their arms behind their backs till they reach the back of their heads in order to make it happen. But I will make that happen. I guarantee it. We will come up with something really fantastic. So that's going to be coming out in the next few months. So you can look for that as well.
Yeah. And Orlando just reiterated where each state has different laws. So check with a local legal advisor. Yes.
100%. Is training necessary for homestagers? Absolutely not. Unregulated, self-regulated industry. But why would you not want the help?
Here's my thing on this one is, what professional service do you know of where they're providing you with advice on, maximizing an investment on your biggest or maximizing your investment on your biggest investment? Like, think about a plumber. You're not going to ask a plumber to come to your house because you watched a YouTube video, right? What other service are you going to hire where they haven't received some sort of formal training? If you were to go into the doctor tomorrow because you're in major pain, so let's say you got some major abdominal pain, you go to the doctor tomorrow and he's like, listen, I didn't graduate, but I watched a YouTube video this morning and I think I know exactly what I'm dealing with. I'm just going to slice you open and we'll take care of this right now. You going to trust them? Yeah. So it's the same. It's honestly, to me, it's the same sort of thing. I know it's a little bit graphic, but like it's the same idea. I don't understand how you can expect to be paid as a professional and really make a career out of this and create a sustainable business unless you can back up what you know. Again, if you've got the creativity, fabulous, but you got to be able to have the skills to go with it.
Exactly. Another example, you're getting ready. You need to get some headshots created for your business cards. So you say to yourself, you know what? I think I want to go and get my makeup done. When you hire somebody who doesn't have any training, chances are you could look like you're from Cirque du Soleil. I'm just saying, you might want to check out the training.
Yeah.
Bikini wax. Anybody could probably give yourself a bikini wax, but somebody's doing that bikini wax for you. You're pretty sure you might want to have them done at a time or two and had some training for it.
Right.
So it's one of those things, again, you don't know what you don't know. So please, if you don't have the training, get the training.
Exactly.
How does a stager rent furniture for vacant homes? How is the fee paid? We touched on that a little bit. Court furniture rental, Brook furniture rental, there's different ones out there. You can either put the lease in your name or you can have the lease in the homeowner's name. There's risks to both. Personally, if it was me doing it, I'd have the lease put in the homeowner's name. And I would not accept the liability. But also, if I was running a staging business, I'd buy my furniture and not rent it. So do you want to add anything to this?
No. We already covered that previously. I will just say that in terms of like how is the fee paid, that it's up to the individual company as to what sort of payment structure they have. But generally, you won't get terms. You will have to pay the fee up front if that's part of what that question's asking. What I do suggest, and I'm not telling anyone to go into credit card debt, but when you put things on your credit card, you actually get 30 days to pay it. So if you want to have terms, so to speak, that's the best way to do it. But make sure you have that money to pay it.
Yeah.
So you're not going into debt.
And the other thing that I will say, when I did have my staging business for those 4 fantastic months that I did rent the furniture from, I actually put that in my name. And the reason being that I did do that is because I could move the furniture from house to house. I went out and I bought my own truck. So once I rented it, if it sold and, they're like, hey man, it's sold. And we were doing quick. This was back in the mid 2000s and people, 2006 and things were selling. And it's like, I could just go and I could take 45 days and you're in and you're out. Now I'm going to move it to someplace else. So I kind of got to double dip on that one. So I got paid more money when I re-rented it someplace else.
Right.
How does one charge for staging services? And it is the baseline from which to follow.
I think we've covered this pretty extensively as well. Yeah.
All right. We're going to skip over that one. What should I bring to an initial consult?
Ooh, I love this one.
Love that one. Go ahead. You go first.
I actually have a checklist on my website if you wanted to go and check it out. I can't tell you exactly where it is on the website, but there is one on the website, or email me and I'll find you the link. But to bring to the initial concept. Okay, so all of my stagers graduate with a tool belt because I love the tool belt for keeping all your stuff together for the consultation. You need a measuring tape. You need obviously a pen and paper to write down notes if you're doing a written report. Even if you're not doing a written report, you're going to want to write some things down. You need to have a fan deck. You need to have something to take photos with, whether it's your phone or a point and shoot camera. We always used to do the point and shoot cameras. Now I'm like, really, I just actually take all the site photos with my phone because it's actually better than any camera you can buy. You need, let's see, what else do you need? You might even want a ruler if you want to draw out some floor plans, but be honest, I kind of do rough sketches if I'm showing them anything like that. Let's see, what else am I missing here? I've always recommended having a flashlight, but now your phone has a flashlight. So if you're bringing your phone on the console, you don't need it. I always get asked, why do you need a flashlight? Sometimes you're looking at an area in the house you just can't see properly, and you want that flashlight to be able to see it. What else is there? So he says, a website address is styledlistedsold.com. And yeah, so Shell just gave my email address there. So anyone who wants to email me afterwards, by all means, and I'll send you whatever you need. just contact me. But I think that's to cover everything I need for the consultation. I actually have a checklist, like I said, and here's what I every stager that I train, including everyone on my team, I give them this checklist, and literally every time they're leaving the door, they check to make sure. Oh, I know what I also want to say. Any client file, so client file telling you anything that you need to know, whether it's electronic or paper, you want to have documents telling you like any history, who the real estate agent, that kind of stuff. And I actually always recommend printing out a Google Maps directions because your phones fail. 100%, it's going to happen to you one of these times, and it's nice to have your Google Maps directions in a printed copy just in case.
Yep, absolutely. I'd also say your talking points and photos, your portfolio on an iPad, or at least something to be able to connect to your website, and your talking points. You're going to want to have some of those rebuttals in your go-to statements that you know, you don't want to sound like you're scripted, but you just want to be prepared because they're going to ask questions.
Yeah. We also have an estimate cheat sheet because we price things out on a per item basis. We have what we call a cheat sheet where we go through and we check all the items that we need. So it says living room and it lists sofa, chairs, tables, and we can check it and put the quantity in each of these. And that's something that we find is super useful for being able to create an estimate afterwards. We don't have to go back through our notes or anything. We can just check.
Yep, there you go. What's the best way to approach realtors to start building a relationship?
Hang out where realtors hang out.
Party where they party. That's what we say. So I'm a big proponent of what I've kind of coined a phrase called networking volunteerism. That's what we're about at RESA. Yes, you might be involved in a local chapter, but you're volunteering your time to change the scope and the temperature of the way real estate is sold on your local level through your chapters, and you're also networking with other peers to be able to give you support. Real estate agents are no different. I would recommend that you join as an affiliate member of their associations, the local association of realtors, your women's council of realtors, if you have that there. And when you go in and you get involved, if it's a square peg round hole, I get it. It's not for everybody, networking and whatnot. It is for me. I raised my income $90,000 in 12 months by attending WCR functions. And that is how RESA is patterned after, is through WCR. So when you build your businesses, if you're going to go to an event, again, don't go and shove yourself down people's throats when you're sitting at a table and they're serving, you're at a breakfast or you're at a lunch or at your dinner. Talk to people, get to know them, but listen to what they're telling you, because they're going to give you some side bits of information that you can walk away with that will give you a reason to connect with them later that's not business staging related. For example, dessert comes, it's fantastic cheesecake. Oh my God. You know, Robbie real estate agents raving about how this reminds him of his grandma's cheesecake when he was a kid. If that was me, I know I'd be walking in my door when I got home and Googling award-winning grandma-style cheesecake, and I'd be sending it to him in a email message or a handwritten card saying, hey, great to meet you the other day. You mentioned cheesecake at the lunch. I found this great cheesecake, or here's one that I love, and send it to them. You're going to make a bigger impression with that than calling them and say, hey, man, can I take you out to lunch or to coffee and tell you about the services that I offer?
Absolutely. And it's all about consistency too when it comes to this networking. The more they see you, the more they're going to want to work with you. We are a sponsor. Ours is called sponsorship with our local association, not affiliates. We are a sponsor. We attend every single, like I was literally at a barbecue today. I live in a city where Oktoberfest is a big celebration. So there was an Oktoberfest barbecue. I'm a vegetarian and they're serving sausages and I attended still. Like I brought my whole team. It's all by donation. We got to see everybody. Does it mean that someone at that barbecue is literally coming up to me like, oh my gosh, I need to hire you? No. But when they go to hire someone, they're going to hire the person who's at every single event that they're at. If you golf, fabulous. Every single brokerage in your town has a golf tournament. I guarantee it. get yourself involved with them, put in a foursome and go and golf with them. If they have a dart league, if they have a pool league, whatever, figure it out and join that as well. Go anywhere that they are going. And Lori's asking, do all of your home staging clients come from realtor connections? Nowadays, I would say probably 90 to 95% of ours do. That wasn't always the case. Again, every area is going to be different. I do recommend, if you're going to spend effort and money in terms of marketing yourself and getting your name out there, focus on the real estate agents. They're repeat business. Homeowners are one-offs. You might have a great relationship with them, but the only reason I market to homeowners is to get in front of their real estate agents. So it's anything that I do that gets in front of homeowners, I guarantee is getting in front of real estate agents as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing with the associations, when you're getting involved with them, if you want to get involved on a level, join a committee, get in something that has to do with ticket sales, hospitality, anything that's those types of roles that are going to get you in front of the most people is the ones that you're going to want to take on. And anything that you do when you do volunteer, when I hear people say, oh, I'm just a volunteer, I'm not getting paid for it, so it's not a big deal. BS calling everyone out on it every single damn day of the week, because the mere fact that you're not getting paid for a job, you made a commitment to a job to be a volunteer. Do it well, or don't do it, because everybody's volunteering their times and it's wasting people's time, and then it tells them volumes about you. So if you're going to volunteer for a position, myself, I'm never going to volunteer to be a treasurer. I don't math. It's not my thing. Don't want it, don't want to do it. However, more organization, I would be more of a secretary. I'm more of a facilitator, so I could be a president, a vice president, or a secretary, but I'm not going to be a treasurer. So if it's square peg, round hole, don't sign yourself up for things that you're not going to be able to come through with.
And to Orlando's point, yes, I actually did mean to mention something along those lines. Orlando, you're right. So he says, present yourself and how you can help them elevate their business to make it about them, and how you can help. 100%. Whenever I'm approaching a real estate agent to say, like, let's do a one-on-one, I'm always saying to them, I'd love the opportunity to learn more about your business, your ideal client, and how I can support you. Would you like to get together? Don't say, I want to talk to you about how I can offer you home staging services. They're not calling you.
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't care. Exactly.
Yeah. So Sherry's asking about Chamber of Commerce. Here's my thing. Chamber of Commerce, you're going to get one-offs. Yes, you're going to meet some contacts, and they might be able to connect you to other people. If budgets are a concern, the way that you want to join associations is your trade association, which would be RESA, realtor associations and WCRs in your area. BNIs and Chambers of Commerces would come after that. So you party where the agents party. You might have a couple at Chamber of Commerce, but those are for general networking. If budgets aren't an issue, great. Be involved, be visible, be everywhere. That's fantastic. But over time, you're not going to get the most bang out of your buck from a chamber.
Right.
Or
and Janina, you talked about some apps. I could go on for days about apps. Send me an email. Well, probably easier than me trying to get into too many things here, but depends on what you're looking for.
So this was kind of a vague question. What are the essentials that are beginner needs? Training.
Insurance,
business
registration. So I actually have a guide to getting started. If you're not sure, you can go to stylelistedsold.com/guide, and it's 7 steps to getting started. But if you're talking about in terms of inventory, that's a whole other, I don't know if we want to get into that at all, but basically don't buy what you don't need. Don't buy something just because it's on sale and just because it's pretty. Buy things that you actually are going to get a ton of use out of. Accent pillows, all in neutral tones, whites, silvers, golds, in terms of accessories, various sizes. Don't buy anything that's like this big. You want things that are, nice, good size. They're going to fill up the space. You're going to use less of them. Plants, you can never have enough foliage of some sort. But I mean, like, as far as like in terms of furniture and everything else, that's a whole other can of worms. But I think getting through with the basics.
Yeah. Hey, Alexandra's asking a question on, are referral programs for realtors a good idea? I might need some clarification on what exactly you mean by the referral program, but I'll try to answer it in the meantime. And if you can kind of clarify it in the chat box. So do you mean that a referral program that you're going to pay them a fee for referring business to you?
Yeah. Or is it like a volume based?
Or volume based, like you stage with me 5 times, you get the 6th one at 10% off or something like that. If you can type your clarification in the chat box, and we're going to move on to this question while you're doing that. And the question was, she says yes, and I don't know why would you pay somebody for a referral if that's what you mean? I would not know. They're bringing you business. You don't pay them to give you a job. You're a professional real estate stager.
If you want to have a loyalty program of some sort, people like to be rewarded. And yes, theoretically, agents are rewarded as soon as we help them sell their houses. I get that. But you can have some sort of reward loyalty type program, but don't make it cost you. I think that's the big key, is like, it shouldn't be costing you. They should be paying to do business with you. So your loyalty program can maybe just be, a matter of, if you book so many consultations with us, then we'll upgrade your next consultation from a standard to a premium or whatever. We'll throw in bathroom accessories or something like that. But don't make it like something that's going to actually end up costing you money. 100%. Don't give them like, if you book this many consults with me, I'm going to start giving you 25% off of everything. And I'm speaking from experience. I did that. It was stupid.
I've seen people, book 5 consults, your 6th one is free. And it's like, well, then you just made less money on all 6 of those consults. You just reduced your profit 6 times over the work that you already did. Mm-hmm. Plus now you're out all that time for the next consult. So spiff them something extra. That's always good to do. I like calling it a loyalty problem or loyalty program. As Shauna Lynn suggested, that's a good idea to do that as well. How and when do you ask for payment? Before you walk out the door. And I'm sending you an email, click this link, pay online, and we'll schedule you. So let me get into that a little bit more detail. If you're booking a consultation with somebody, I would not put them on my schedule until I had payment. And here's why. They don't show up. Sometimes, how many times, Shauna Lynn, have we talked to stagers and you hear about it? I drove all the way out there and nobody was there. And I called them and I reminded them and they still forgot about it. Here's the thing. I have 4 p.m. on Friday or 11:30 on Friday as my 2 appointments that are available on Friday. All I need is a credit card, and you tell me which one you'd like to secure, and I'll get you on the schedule. It's that simple. Asking for money is not taboo. It doesn't have to be a scary thing. It's just very direct. They know they have to pay you. They know it's coming. You don't need to make it any more scary by trying to do it in any, weird or nefarious way. It's just very, very much up front. Most stagers require 50% deposit at signing and 50% balance at the day. Again, I wouldn't do it the day of, because if I load my truck and I get there and they're not ready, then you better have in your contract how you're going to handle that, because you're going to have to turn around and go away. So I would say, if I was going to do it, I'd say 50% at time of signing and then full deposit within 48 hours before the job. Something along those arrangements.
And I'll admit, I'm slightly different in that my agents do get terms for their consultation invoices, but in order to book it, we need a credit card on file, and our cancellation policy is very clear. If we show up and your client's not there, you will be billed in full.
Yep. So and that's different too. You can absolutely do that, but Shauna Lynn's I wouldn't do that running out of the gate with somebody, a brand new client. Shauna Lynn's got deep, deep relationships with her clients. So she's got things that are well-oiled machines. And when you get your well-oiled machine going, you can absolutely do that. I love that idea. What are the most important questions to ask in a consultation? Okay. So first of all, any training program should be walking you through the consultation start to finish, because I think this is one of the biggest things. You need to know not just what they need to do in their home. You need to know how to build that relationship with them and how to run the whole consultation. Every one of my students is taught what room we start in, and there's a reason why we start in that room, and where we go next, and then where we go next. They're also taught the introduction of, from the second they open the door and you're saying hello, how to greet them. So the first things you should be asking them before you even get into the consultation, if you haven't had this conversation over the phone already, is asking them a little bit about the house. Have you ever sold a house before? If so, when was the last time you sold a house? Have you ever worked with a home stager before? Are you familiar with the home staging process? Let me tell you a little bit about what our goal is here today and how this is going to work. Make sure they understand how that process is going to work, so they're understanding as well that they're not going to be offended by anything that you're saying. And when it comes to asking questions, essentially we are telling them how to live in their house and how they should be setting it up. But if you are working in an owner-occupied home, you do need to take into consideration how they live in the home. So one thing I always tell my clients, for example, at the start of the consultation, is say, listen, if I'm asking you to do something and you're thinking in your head, there is no way in hell I'm going to do that, I need you to tell me that. Because instead of me just leaving and you just don't do it, if you tell me that you can't do it, we can have a discussion and come up with perhaps a compromise or a way to help you to achieve it.
Or if I think that 100% has got to be done, I can at least help to explain why, so you have a better understanding of it, so that we're all on the same page. If you still choose not to do it, that's obviously your prerogative. At the end of the day, it's your home, but I can help to explain why it's so important to me that you do this. So make sure that you understand how they're living in the home. That's the only way that you're going to be able to properly service them. They need to feel as though, yes, they're kind of handing their home over to you, but they need to feel as though you're still respecting the fact that it is still their home.
Yeah, and you also need to know what their goals are. And it's important when you ask these questions, where do you want to be? Where are you going? Where are you moving to? Because when they do give you resistance, you can remind them that they wanted to be out in 30 days. They want to close in 45 days. Well, if you want, they want a larger price for their home than what it might command otherwise. Well, great. If you want to list your home for $475,000, these are the, this is what the temperature of everything looks like in your particular area. This is what your competition is. You would need to do these types of things in order to command that price. So you can use their goals and what they've said in order to further your explanations and get them to be more on your page over things that they might have some resistance to.
And that is key. You do want to ask what they're listing the house for. That is information that should not be held close to their chest. You need to be aware of what that price point is going to be, because that helps you to identify the buyer. If you're working with a real estate agent, especially if it's an agent that works in that area often, you can also ask them. They love being smart about stuff. Ask them, do you know who your target demographic is for this particular house? You as a stager should be aware of buyer demographics and essentially what the target's going to be based on the style of house, price point of house, neighborhood, etc. But that also comes in time. Asking a real estate agent their opinion on it, they would love to share it with you if you have access to that as well.
Yeah. We've got three more questions left, I believe.
This is awesome.
What's the single most important rule to not forget at any property?
I don't know if I can narrow it down to one. If we're talking a staging rule, that's one thing. But to be honest, my rule would be to remember that it is a privilege to be invited into someone's home, not a right. So that's in terms of just respect. As far as the most important rule, furniture placement, flow. Like, that's more important than anything else. If you don't have the right flow, nothing else matters.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Got to look fab, got to flow. How do you handle moving your inventory to stage and destage properties if you are too small to have movers on staff? And what percentage of staging costs should moving costs be?
So there's this really cool thing. There's these companies that actually move things for a living. That's what they do. They're called movers. So I would say, like, if you're too small to have movers on staff, just hire a moving company when you need them. Vet out the proper moving companies. As far as what percentage of staging costs should moving costs be, I don't know. Like, my movers aren't cheap, but let me tell you, they treat my stuff like it's theirs. And to me, that is way more valuable. And I make sure that, again, that's part of my expenses. So I'm building it into my staging costs, and I'm making sure that I'm getting compensated for it. As far as if you want to, it depends on what you're doing. If you're doing owner occupied versus vacant, like if you're doing owner occupied and you're just doing like some accessories, artwork, whatever, get a vehicle that can support it. Get a minivan, an SUV, cargo van even. You don't have to necessarily invest in a massive moving truck to be able to do that. We have an SUV and we have a trailer hook up to it as well. And maybe you and your assistant can move the stuff if it's small stuff. But I do recommend vetting some movers and seeing if you can get some, because if you try to pay someone $10 an hour because it's a kid down the street who needs some help, I am telling you, you're going to end up losing more inventory. You didn't save anything in the end. Yeah,
not at all. And the other thing is that's a line item. So if your movers are charging you $300 for the move, it's a flat $300. That's not negotiable. That's just added in, and your staging fees on top of that. People expect to have to pay that particular fee.
Just remember, you're paying for moving twice. Whatever your mover fees are, you need to double that because it's stage and destage. So just make sure that you're accounting for that.
Absolutely. I am just starting out, coming from a completely different line of work. How do I establish credibility?
So going back to register your business, get your training, join RESA, get insured.
Yeah. You've got to be a full package. So you need to present yourself as a full package, speak with intelligence, deliver your information with passion and intelligence. And when you come across that way, people are going to believe you. So they're not just going to hire you because you have a service that they need. They're going to hire you because they believe in what you're doing and they believe in how you connect and you vibe with them.
Absolutely. All of that.
What do you use for photos when you're starting out? Do you ever offer free stagings in exchange for photos?
No, we actually covered that question earlier on. Yeah. One thing you do not use, though, is somebody else's photos or stock photos.
Yes. No stock photos ever, believe it or not. It is against the RESA code of ethics. It's extremely unethical. We just dealt with this the other day. A new member had joined, just happened to reach out to us, and I noticed it on our website. And I'm like, that's a stock photo. That's a stock photo. And she even put them in her portfolio, which is even worse. And let me explain why, if it's not uber obvious. A, unethical. B, setting yourself up for failure, because if you can't do the same type of job that's in that photo and you go stage Randy Realtor's listing, Randy's going to be really angry with you, because they're going to go, uh-oh, what happened? That house you did over on your website is amazing, but now we're looking at this staging and it's not even close. So for sure, no stock photos, but stage your friends, your family, your neighbors, and do all that.
Your own house. In your own
home. Do it before and after your own. They don't need to know.
I will say, when you're building your portfolio, though, I do want to make a statement about this. Don't put in 3 different angles of the same room in your portfolio. You need really just one shot of each room. If you're using your own house, what I recommend is ensure that you can't see another room from each photo. That way you can put in a photo of your living room and a photo of your kitchen and a photo of your bedroom, and it doesn't look like it's all in the same house. But if I can see from the living room into the kitchen, don't put that angle in so that it looks like a completely separate room, so it doesn't look like it's all in one house.
Yep, good advice. So this is our last slide, and I'm going to take this slide, Shauna Lynn, and then we're going to open it up to some questions. I know we've ran over. Usually these are only an hour, and I know we took a lot of time in the first 15 minutes to one question. But I want to talk a little bit about training. I am not a training provider. I'm the CEO of RESA, but we do work with fantastic training providers such as Shauna Lynn Simon. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate her time. This is just to explain a little bit about training. The ones on the top are accredited training providers. What this means is that we've reviewed their books, their policies, their procedures, their websites, their fiscal soundness, their emails, their policies, their refund policies, cancellation policies. We've reviewed everything. This program was written, took about a year to write it, and we followed the U.S. Department of Education's guidelines for accreditation for the post-collegiate secondary educational system. That's not a mouthful. So basically, we did it how colleges do it. So we recommend the affiliate training providers are also pre-screened. We screen their references. We check them out. They have to be in business for so many years. All of our training providers agree to have any complaints filed against them. If something goes awry and you don't like it, you can reach out to RESA and we will try to mitigate those circumstances for you. And they've agreed to allow that to happen. So I recommend that you look at everybody's websites from our website. You can look at them, you can read about them, cross off what doesn't fit your needs, go to their websites, view their websites, call them, interview them. All of them will also give you referrals. You can also go online. You'll see lots of people talking about their different designations as well. The affiliate training providers does not mean that they're not as good as the accredited ones. In fact, every single one of these used to be the affiliate training providers. So it just means that for whatever reason, they haven't gone through the process. So I wouldn't have that hold it against anybody, but you definitely want to seek them out and to be able to vet them properly. And if you use this method, you're going to find the one that you're going to vibe with the most. But we do recommend that you also look at your learning style. A lot of people say, I want something online, but they don't quite realize they may not have an environment at home that's conducive to online learning. So if your home is, brother's hitting me, she's staring at me, the cat peed on the floor, where's my dinner, I can't find my baseball mitt, that's what your house is like, you might want to get away for 3 or 4 days and go seek training in an in-person class, just saying. On the flip side, you might be an empty nester, and you might be single. You might have an online environment or an environment that's conducive for online learning, and you might take that in really well, and you might consider online. So really check those things out, and don't necessarily choose something just because it's geographically close to you as well either. This is very important. This is your business. Can't stress that enough. So you need to find the people that you are going to really learn from. There are people that I vibe with me, that like my teaching style, and there are going to be people that I'm going to make their heads explode. Let's just face it. They might not want so much energy at them. They might want somebody that's a little bit more low key. So you have to just find that what's right for you. And I will say that Shauna Lynn, she is SLS Academy. I believe she's got a fantastic program. She's highly recommended. She's been a speaker at many, many RESACons. She's done a retreat with me as well. So I've gotten to know Shauna Lynn over the years and appreciate her brain so much, and your friendship in addition to that. She's got a fantastic brain. We can go ahead and open this up to any other questions. We're happy to stay on for a few more minutes. If anybody has some questions that we did not cover, you want to ask, go ahead and type them in that chat box, and we'll cover as many until they stop coming, and then we will let you all get on with your lives.
I'm just scrolling through too to make sure that we didn't miss anything. I think we covered them all except for the apps one. And I can talk about the apps one briefly now that we're through all the rest of the slides. When it comes to ads, because again, it just depends on what it is that you're looking to do. Like, do you want an app for your inventory? Do you want an app for your staging consultations? Stagingconsultations.com is a good one for creating your reports. I, however, do handwritten reports, and then I use Genius Scan to scan it, and I physically hand it to the clients, and I have the Genius Scan version of it. But Dropbox or Google Drive, I think, are absolutely paramount. Like, you have to have one of those, because we have so many photos. You need somewhere that you can safely store them, and essentially need access to have your files offline as well. Having a good inventory program. Oh gosh, what other apps am I using? There's so many different ones out there. Again, it just depends on what your needs are. So if you have specific needs, email me and I can tell you what my preferred app, I should say, not necessarily the best, but whatever I'm using for my business potentially.
Great.
Let's see.
Any opinion on Staging Diva? It wouldn't be ethical for us to comment on another training provider. We don't work with Staging Diva, or she doesn't work with us, should I say. She's not part of the RESA family of training providers. I actually have no idea why. So I don't know her personally. So I would vet her and see any other students and see what their experience was with her program.
As far as Kathy's question about best marketing tools, email blasts, I would say that the answer to the best marketing tools, all of them, unfortunately, it is a matter of hitting people in different places. But what I would say is figure out what you have time for and what you're going to really dedicate to, and kill it. Absolutely knock it out of the park before you add too many different things to it. But there's a ton of great low-cost advertising strategies out there, from social media to email marketing. I'm a huge fan of email marketing. It's super effective. To the networking that we talked about. So there's a lot of low cost things that doesn't necessarily mean you have to buy billboards of stuff. What I suggest to everyone when it comes to marketing is make sure when you are meeting anyone that you are memorable. If they don't remember you, they can't hire you. So having a solid business card, having some sort of anecdotal story maybe that they'll remember you by. Obviously for me, they remember that I have pink hair and I dress a little funny. So, whatever it is that's going to make you unique, it doesn't have to be a physical feature like that, but make sure they remember who you are. I cannot tell you how many times I've gone into a house and said, oh, have you had a stager before? They're like, yeah, I don't remember what her name was. Couldn't tell you what she looked like. I don't remember what her company was. Like, well, sounds like she did a fabulous job, right? Yeah. So be memorable. Yeah.
And Stacy's asking, SLS, do you have one-on-one coaching? Yes, she does. You have programs.
Sure do. Email me and I'm happy to give you the details and even set up a free coaching assessment call with you. Yes.
There you go. I also offer a career counseling session for any RESA members. Yes. I will jump on for 30 minutes with anybody. Usually in 30, 40 minutes, I can conquer a lot of your questions one-on-one and clear up a lot. Yes, and if I can, I can refer you to someone else who can help you long-term. Vacation rentals. Man, this was a good concept. Sarah did this at RESACon. She had the whole thing on the Airbnb. It's a great niche to be able to get in. 100%. If you went to RESACon, you have access to those recordings for a few months. If you didn't, they're not available this year for people, but always get to RESACon, because this always comes up. Everybody says, oh, they had a great thing at RESACon. I wish I would have went.
Sarah actually has a podcast called Thanks for Visiting. I recommend checking that out. She gives a lot of great details in that as well. I also do short-term rentals. I've gone into in this last year. I've actually got 2 new suites coming up that I'm putting together. And it is definitely a bit of a different, I think that stagers are so well poised to be able to break into this market and absolutely rock it. But you do want to make sure that you are being compensated appropriately for it and that you are anticipating what the needs of your clients are going to be. So I do recommend checking out Sarah's podcast. Thanks for visiting.
I love that. And what do you recommend to include in a bio? I'm going to give you my opinion. I
know what you're going to say. I know. Yep.
I have to. Yep. Listen.
Dollhouses? What?
Here's the thing. If I read another bio about somebody staging their Barbie dream house and rearranging their furniture when they were 4, I'm going to scream. People don't care. Unless it's really vital to your story, there's no reason to include that. People want to know what you can do for them now. And that's really that is one of the things that when you read that type of bio, it screams, I'm new and I don't know what else to put. So I'm going to talk about when I was a kid. That's what it's screaming to you. So
this is what I do. This is what I provide. That's
what what I do. This is what I provide. And this is why I'm the best. List your accolades. So when you look at my bio, you know, it might say, hey, Shell's been working in the real estate industry for the last 10 years. But, you know, I don't, you know, tell them when I was 9 that I had my own little babysitting business that I referred business out to the kids in my neighborhood and cut a fee for it. I don't tell them about that because it's not needed. But all your accolades, your awards, things that you've done and your accomplishments, that's what I would focus on the bio. Keep it succinct and direct and to the point and how it's going to help benefit them.
Absolutely. And anything that, if you do have things that were prior to your home staging career that are relevant, by all means include them. Or some fun facts, like something that I love to include. My clients love to find out that I have a Bachelor of Mathematics because it's just a super cool thing. Like, holy crap, our stager also knows math. And it's weird to them. And I always mention how that's where my problem solving comes from. And that's why I'm so solution focused. So I relate it into how it makes me super awesome in my field. And it provides that little extra thing. And I will tell you, that's one of those things that they remember about me, because I also give them my bio prior to going to visit them.
Yep.
This is something that every one of our stagers, when we send them out, before that stager comes to visit them, that homeowner gets a copy of the bio from that stager.
Yep. And what I like about that is something about her past that will set her apart. And that's different than the Barbie dream house. So like, for example, with me, I've had bios where I've said, you know, Shell brings her experience from being a private investigator for 10 years to the table. That's something that sets me apart. People recognize that. And then, of course, it opens up a lot of conversation. So if it's going to add to what you're doing, it's fantastic, but you don't need to go so far back. It's just like a resume these days. You don't need to go back to your Jamba Juice job when you were in the 10th grade.
And again, you have to relate it. You can't have them try to put the pieces together of like why it's relevant. You have to spell out why that's relevant to making you super awesome for all their staging needs.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yes, there is a replay of this, but I'm going to be direct in knowing that this is above my pay grade, and I'm not sure how it's working right now. We are in the middle of changing systems, they tell me. So either you will get a recorded link by tomorrow morning. If you do, we hope it works and it's not broken, because last week we went through this. Excuse me, I'm choking on my laughter. And the link didn't work. So last Friday I was getting a ton of emails saying the link was broken and did not work. So if it goes out tonight, fantastic. We pray that it works. If it doesn't, then you will likely get something by Monday or Tuesday of next week, because Felicia, it does not work on Fridays. And then she can email something out. So we hope that it does get to you by tomorrow, and we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Right. And I hope you're feeling better, Debbie, too. No one likes to be sick.
Trust me, no one likes to be sick. It's not a good thing. All right. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. This was so much fun. Oh my gosh. This was such a blast. You guys were amazing too. Fabulous questions throughout, plus the questions that you had on the slides. Oh my gosh. This was so much fun.
All right. Until next time. Check us out online, get in our social media groups. Tickets are open for RESACon. We are in the early bird pricing right now. The prices will go up, so check out resaconvention.com. Make sure you get your ticket early and book your hotel room early. We know it's still 2019. I will never stress this enough, because don't be mad at me when you can't get a ticket or get a hotel room. People always are, and I don't understand why, because I tell them all the time, book in advance. So check it out. Until next time, happy staging, everyone, and have a fantastic weekend, and we will see you soon.
Thanks. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.